Soviet montage. When they exist without each other, those two words are familiar to most people, but when they are strung together, they take on a whole new meaning. But before we jump in, let's make sure we're on the same page about what Soviet montage actually is. The word montage itself refers to the assembling of shots together to create meaning, a concept on which most film is built upon. Aristotle's phrase, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, fits perfectly when it comes to film. Being given a bunch of unedited, standalone shots holds significantly less meaning than those same shots when they are assembled. So, to add to the earlier definition of montage, the Soviets theorized that montage gave films their power. The way that shots are edited together attributes meaning to them, and elements such as order, length, and rhythm all play key roles in how they are interpreted. In Soviet montage, shots were sequenced to juxtapose each other in order to create a relationship between the shots. They combined shots that were, in the words of Sergei Eisenstein, single in meaning, neutral in content, and combined them to create context, series, and meaning. The Soviets believed that montage worked through a process made up of a thesis, antithesis, and synthesis, or a dialectical montage. The thesis, the first shot, and the antithesis, the shot that stands to oppose the thesis, work together to create the synthesis, the meaning that arises from the juxtaposition of the thesis and antithesis. Let's rewind. How and why did Soviet montage come to fruition? Back in 1917, there was a revolution occurring in the Soviet Union. Vladimir Lenin overthrew the Tsar government, bringing the Bolsheviks to power. The new government was very interested in film's ability to influence people socially and politically, so they took it upon themselves to combine the film studios throughout the Soviet Union to create the state-owned company called Narkompros. Filmmakers were pushed to find new techniques to spread the ideologies of the revolution, which laid the foundation for the montage movement to develop. One major obstacle that stood in the way of Soviet filmmakers was an extreme shortage of film stock, as in there was literally next to none in the entire country. This shortage prompted filmmakers to become film studiers, which led to the establishment of the first ever film school in 1919, the State Institute of Cinematography, or VGIK. The school was strongly supported by Lenin because he recognized the ability of film to communicate his messages to literate and illiterate audiences alike. Of all the educators employed at VGIK, Lev Kuleshov was by and large the most influential. Like I mentioned earlier, film stock was extremely hard to come by in the Soviet Union during this period. Lev Kuleshov managed to obtain some from the government in 1921. Shortly after doing so, he conducted what we now call the Kuleshov experiments. These experiments led to several discoveries that still play a role in cinema today, most notably the Kuleshov effect. The Kuleshov effect leads viewers to infer the spatial continuity of shots in a sequence by omitting the establishing shot, typically relying on eyeline match. During his experiments, he cut up footage of Ivan Mozhukin and edited it together with several different unrelated shots. The expression of Mozhukin did not change. The perception of his expression, however, did. This simple experiment revealed a major implication of cinema. The response of a film's viewer depends more on the editing than the shots themselves. By juxtaposing two unrelated images, viewers were able to draw a new meaning because of the way that they were edited together, aka the montage of the shots. This discovery changed how films were made, emphasizing the power of the editing phase, which allows filmmakers to manipulate space, time, and the reactions they want to elicit in their audiences. The emphasis of the importance of editing paved the way for filmmakers like Isfir Shub to make major contributions to the film industry. Isfir Shub was another key filmmaker during the Soviet montage movement. To put it plainly, Isfir Shub invented the compilation film. As a result of the lack of film stock in the Soviet Union, Soviet filmmakers were tasked with re-editing old films, usually to fit better with communist ideologies. Shub took on this task, building her editing skills as she did so. This led her to pioneer the subgenre of Soviet documentary called the compilation film. On her own initiative, Shub edited together pieces from all kinds of footage, including newsreels and both official and amateur footage, to create her first compilation documentary called The Fall of the Romanov Dynasty. Her work as a documentarian has had a lasting impact on the film industry for two reasons. The first, of course, being her invention of the compilation film, which was a revolutionary genre. Second, by using previously recorded film, Shub was able to save footage that would have otherwise been lost or destroyed. The innovation of Soviet montage filmmakers, including Lev Kuleshov, Isfir Shub, and many others, continue to impact filmmaking in modern times. The methods used throughout the Soviet montage movement to elicit emotions, portray narratives, and convey meaning undoubtedly pushed the boundaries of cinema at the time of their invention. Many of these revolutionary techniques are utilized by contemporary filmmakers. One of the most well-known examples is the shower scene in Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. Here we see Hitchcock utilizing the metric montage technique. Metric montage is the practice of cutting shots after a specific number of frames, no matter what is occurring in the shot. This allows the filmmaker to control the amount of tension that is felt by the audience, and although he does not necessarily use juxtaposition like the montage directors did during the movement, he creates a great deal of tension with the speed of the cuts. We also often see Soviet montage in today's movie trailers, most commonly the technique of rhythmic montage, which matches cuts to sound effects, actions on screen, or music. The idea that the arrangement of moving images in a sequence can evoke emotion and portray complex ideas just as strongly as words has been used since it was conceptualized during the Soviet montage movement. From the 1917 revolt, to the experiments of Lev Kuleshov and the pioneering of Isfir Shub, to the works of filmmakers today, the legacy of Soviet montage continues to remind us that the true power of movies lies in its ability to convey meaning through the way in which their shots are edited together.